The 1.19 Wild Update has officially released for all platforms, meaning that you can now explore the Deep Dark, the Warden, ancient cities, and all of the new items that were added in 1.19. There are 47 unique items that you can see on screen right now, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down absolutely every single new feature in the 1.19 Wild Update. If you haven't been keeping track of the updates, or if you just missed a couple of things, this is going to be a great refresher to get you up to speed on what is included in the Wild Update. The Wild Update is pretty jam-packed of features once you get into it. There are 47 new unique items and 4 new mobs: the Lay, the Warden, Frogs, and Tadpoles. There are 2 new biomes, the Mangrove Swamps and the Deep Dark, a new structure called the Ancient City where you can find the Warden. There are new redstone components such as the Skull Sensor, Catalyst, and Shrieker. There's also 5 new non-renewable items in the game that you can only find in the Ancient Cities, such as a new music disc, a new enchantment called Swift Sneak, and a recovery compass that will point you to your last death. There's also a new tree and wood type called the Mangrove Tree, and that has all these standard wood blocks associated with that. Not only that, there are also chest boats now, so you can boat around and bring a bunch of items with you, and there's a ton of new decorational blocks such as mud and froglights as well. The goat horns have also been added in 1.19, and those are basically a new musical instrument, the first of its kind really. This update has a lot of new and unique mechanics that we've never seen in Minecraft before, and overall it's a pretty great update. The majority of items included in this update are renewable, so you can actually farm these, and I've made a separate video all about how to farm everything in 1.19. If you're interested, check that out. So let's start off light and fluffy, shall we? First of all, we have the Mangrove Swamps. You can find these in the world along with the original Minecraft swamps. These do not replace the original swamps. They look kind of like this. There's basically just a ton of these mangrove trees everywhere, and the ground is going to be covered in these dark mud blocks, which you can collect with a shovel. These are basically just like the regular swamps, and you can find the frogs here. Down underneath the water, you can find patches of clay. You can of course find some seagrass, tropical fish, and some lily pads as well. Of course, you can also find slimes in the mangrove swamps as well. The mangrove trees are pretty unique because they have these mangrove root blocks. These can be waterlogged, and you can also find the muddy varieties of them as well. You can grow the mangrove trees underwater or on land, which is also another unique feature of them. Something I didn't know until literally right now is you can place lily pads on top of the waterlogged mangrove roots. That is interesting. I like that. These trees are going to be a pain to harvest because they have a lot of branches on the inside. This is basically what the tree looks like without any leaves on it. There's no preferred tool to mine the mangrove roots, but you don't need Silk Touch to collect them. Overall, it's just going to take a while to remove them all. You can actually get saplings for the mangrove trees without destroying the tree or any leaves, and all you gotta do for that is bone meal one of the mangrove leaves. That'll give you one of these little propagules, and these have several different stages of growth, and this is the final stage right here. You can punch it with your fist, or break the block above it, or push it with a piston, and that will give you one propagule item. You can grow propagules on dirt, or really whatever else that you want to, and that includes mud as well. Mud is a perfectly valid block for these to grow on if there's no other trees in the area. You can also grow just about any other foliage on top of mud as well, including other sapling types. If you grow a tree on some mud, that'll actually turn it back into some dirt. The mangrove roots are a very unique block, but they don't currently have all of their features updated on Bedrock Edition. So you can waterlog these, and typically that water should not flow out of the block. It should be fully contained, which is a very unique property of waterlogged blocks. They should also conduct redstone power, but as you can see, that is not on Bedrock Edition. They also let through light and beacon beams, and mobs can spawn on top of these as well. So they are a very unique multifunctional block, but they need a lot of work on Bedrock Edition. You can also craft the muddy mangrove roots by taking one mangrove root and combining that with one mud block, and that will give you a muddy mangrove root. Overall, just a decoration block with no special properties. Real quick, if you're enjoying today's video, then consider subscribing. That way you don't miss a future 1.19 content. I have a lot of videos planned for 1.19, and you don't want to miss them. The mangrove logs can be crafted into all of these standard wood items that you would expect, such as planks, fences, gates, stairs, stairs, doors, trapdoors, slabs, the regular logs, the stripped logs, the wood types, the stripped wood, the leaves, the sapling, the mangrove roots, the muddy roots, the signs, the buttons, the pressure plates, the boats, and the chest boats. Overall, there is 20 different items associated with the mangrove trees alone. That's a lot of mangrove. Moving on to mud, there is 6 different decorational blocks requiring mud. There is the regular mud, the packed mud, mud bricks, mud walls, mud stairs, and slabs as well. Of course, you can naturally harvest mud from the mangrove swamps, or you can manufacture it by clicking on a piece of dirt with a water bottle that will empty the bottle and give you 1 mud block. This can also be automated with a dispenser as well, and once you have a piece of mud, you can craft that into the packed mud. So you take 1 piece of mud, you put 1 piece of wheat, and that will give you 1 packed mud. You need 4 pieces of packed mud in a 2x2 to give you the mud bricks, and then you can turn the mud bricks into slabs, stairs, or walls. And once you have mud bricks, you can also use those in a stone cutter as well. The shovel is the tool of choice for the packed mud and regular mud, and then the pickaxe is the tool of choice for all the rest of them. Mud also comes with a new mechanic where you can drain the water out of it using a dripstone, and this will actually turn into a clay block. If we turn up the random tick speed, as you can see, that turns into a piece of clay, so now we can manufacture clay, and this is now a renewable resource. Moving on to frogs, there are 2 main places that you'll find frogs spawning in your worlds. You will find the orange frogs spawning in the regular swamp biomes, and then you will find the white frogs spawning in the mangrove biomes. If you take some tadpoles and you hatch them in a cold biome, that is how you can get the green frogs. Frogs are a pretty basic mob. You can't tame them, but you can put a lead on them, and of course you can also breed them using slime balls as well. Once you breed 2 frogs, one of them is going to go find some water, and then it's going to lay some frog spawn. As you can see, this little froggo is making its way towards the nearest water. And once the frog reaches the water, it will lay some frog spawn, and these will take a few minutes to hatch. Once they hatch, you'll have an explosion of tadpoles. It is worth mentioning that you cannot mine or acquire the frog spawn in vanilla survival. Once it's placed down, you just have to wait for it to hatch. Frogs can also be lured using a slime ball as well, so there is that. You can have an army of frogs follow you around. Tadpoles are a pretty basic mob. You can't put a lead on them, but you can pick them up with a bucket of water for a bucket of tadpole, and then you can transport these around the world, hatch them in different kinds of biomes to get the different colors of frogs. You can also feed tadpoles the slime balls, and that will make them grow up into adult frogs. Axolotls are predators, so they will go after and try to kill the tadpoles if they encounter them. A quick tip for you, if you want to get some easy frogs in the nether, just grab yourself a bucket of tadpole, make yourself a 2 deep hole, place it down in there, and then just spam some slime balls on it. That will make it grow up into an adult white frog, and that is by far the easiest way to get frogs into the nether. Frogs are also capable of eating baby slimes, and if they do eat a slime, they will drop 1 slime ball. It is a terrible, terrible slime farm, but you know what? It does technically exist. Frogs can also eat baby magma cubes as well, and that is how you'd get the different varieties of Froglight. So these are a pretty standard, basic, and generic block, but they do emit light, and they do have this nice, like, candy texture. They also have the orientation and placement style of logs. So as you can see, they have, like, an end texture, and then they have a side texture as well. Depending on what color frog it is, it will drop a different kind of Froglight. So as you can see, the orange frog will drop the yellow ochre Froglight. So in order to get all 3 different varieties of Froglight, you're going to need to get the 3 different varieties of frog, and then get them into the nether, and then have them eat some baby magma cubes. Basically, you're going to want to farm for this, but lucky for you, I already designed one, and you can see it in the upper right now. Chest boats have also been added to the game as well, and there's now a chest boat variety for every type of regular boat. 7 in total. They are very stylish, and they're also extremely practical as well. So if you are riding inside of the boat and you open up your inventory, as you can see, you have this extended inventory right here. However, as you can see, you cannot access the little crafting table or the armor slots or your offhand when you're sitting inside of a chest boat, so keep that in mind. You can also access the inventory of the boat without getting into it, and all you do for that is crouch and then click on it, and as you can see, you can now access the inventory of the boat. If you just click on it regularly, then of course you get into the boat. Of course, if you're on Bedrock Edition, you can apply a lead to the boat, and then you can drag around mobs and a ton of items with you all over the place. And this is a fairly reliable method of moving items, as long as you don't go too quick or you're not too crazy with it. Essentially, this is a very cheap early game shulker box. There's also been 8 different variety of goat horn added in this update, and these are basically musical instruments. Each one of these makes one unique sound. Some of them aren't really that great sounding, but what do you expect? It's a goat horn. So you get these by tricking a goat with at least one horn into ramming into one of these blocks right here, any wood type of the overworld, stone, packed ice, or these 4 ores. It's kind of a difficult thing to do, but if a goat is trying to ram you, you can dodge out of the way, it'll fly into one of these materials, and then drop a goat horn on the ground. It's going to take you a little while, but you might get one of these if you are lucky. Spectator Mode was also added as an experimental feature in 1.19 because it's not quite done yet, but it does work very, very well. So if you turn on the Spectator Mode experimental toggle, you can then just type the /game mode spectator into chat, and that will put you directly into Spectator Mode. It still has a couple of issues and some bugs with it, but the main features are there. It runs really well, and as you can see, we now have 100% gray X-ray of the entire world. This is a long sought after feature for Bedrock Edition, and I am so glad that it's finally in the game. Moving on to the spoopy part of the update, we have the Deep Dark biome. You can find this biome anywhere in the Minecraft world, typically below Y0 and the Deep Slate levels. And yes, you can get a Warden in these areas. As you can see, there is the Catalyst, there is the Shrieker, and there's also some sensors around as well. So just because it's not an ancient city doesn't mean you own the place, and you can get owned by a Warden. If you get lucky or unlucky, there can be a surprising amount of Deep Dark in the Minecraft world. Basically, everywhere below Y0 is fair game for the Deep Dark to spawn. Just flying around for a couple hundred blocks, you can see there is a lot of skulk around here, and that is exactly what you want. Of course, there can also be large sections of the underground that don't have any Deep Dark at all, so it's really just a luck of the draw on if you're gonna get killed by a Warden or not. But when you do find some Deep Dark, it is gonna be a pretty large section of it, and there's gonna be a lot of skulk everywhere. So be careful and watch out for skulk sensors and shriekers. Ultra rarely in the Deep Dark biome, you can find an ancient city. This is the place that you do or do not want to be, because this is where you can mostly find the Warden, but this is also home to 5 unique items, loot, and a ton of other lore-related things. The ancient city is one of the biggest structures in Minecraft. They can easily span 200 blocks across or so, and there is a lot to see. The ancient city is intended to be a completely dead place with no mob spawning, so it is just you, the ancient city, and the Warden. However, currently due to some bugs on Bedrock Edition, hostile mobs can spawn in the Deep Dark, so watch out for that. There's also some subtle lore regarding the ancient cities, as you can tell from the different colors of wool in the area, the dark oak, and this little structure right here. It does appear that the Illagers found the ancient cities and subsequently got wrecked by the Warden. If you compare these structures to the other pillager-related structures in Minecraft, it becomes pretty obvious that the pillagers were here, and they did not stay. This large warden-shaped structure in the middle is also definitely not a portal to another dimension. Mojang swears that this is not a portal, but it's like absolutely a portal, and it's Ender Dragon sized, and it's a portal, okay? Can we all just agree it's a portal to another dimension? It's not right now, but in the future it will be. Probably. This Definitely Not a Portal is made out of a unique block called Reinforced Deep Slate. You cannot acquire this in survival mode, you cannot blow it up, move it, or destroy it in any way, even with a Wither or the Ender Dragon. However, you can technically mine it, but as you can see, it literally takes like a minute to mine with Efficiency 5, Netherite, and even Haste 2. So there's really no point to mining it, it's just definitely a portal to another dimension. There's also a secret room inside of the ancient city, and if you don't want want that spoiled for you, then just skip ahead a couple of seconds. But if we go up to this little warden boy right here and we throw a snowball on that, or otherwise place a block there, you will hear some redstone activate, and at the foot of it, a piston door will have opened. There's actually a redstone laboratory in here, and it looks pretty cool. It's got some old school, ancient style redstone in it. This has got all kinds of lore implications going on with it. It doesn't make any sense at all. Why is it here? But we will never have the answers. It is purely up to us to figure it out and make up stories. If you want to get out of here, you can flick this lever right here, and that will reopen that piston door. All over the ancient city is a variety of small loot chests, and within those chests you can find a variety of different items, including enchanted golden apples, a whole bunch of different junk items, some regeneration potions, saddles, diamond horse armor, some music disc, amethyst shards, some enchanted diamond gear, and of course various skulk blocks. However, there's also 3 unique items that you can find here, such as the Swift Sneak enchantment on some enchantment books. You can also find the Echo Shards and Disc Fragments. If you take 9 of the disc fragments and put those into a crafting table, you can make the new music disc from Samuel. This is music disc number 5. You can put that in a jukebox, and it's extremely creepy. It's basically a found footage music disc going along with the likes of 11 and 13. If you find 8 of the Echo Shards, you can combine those in a crafting table with a compass, and that will give you the Recovery Compass. This is a unique item that will point you to your last death location. If it's spinning around in circles, that means that you either have not died or you're in the wrong dimension for your death. So if I just go ahead and die real quick, we'll see that my death location will be highlighted by this compass. So as you can see, it is pointing to the foot of the portal over there. And then we can travel towards our death point, and the compass will start circling it. So this is a better way of finding out where all of your lost items are whenever you die. But of course, you're probably going to die at least 20,000 times trying to acquire a recovery compass, because the warden is going to destroy your face. And the last unique item is the Swift Sneak enchantment. This comes in 3 different levels, 1, 2, and 3, and this is a legging enchantment. If you put your pants in an anvil and then put Swift Sneak on there, then you will get the Swift Sneak enchantment. It's rather expensive, as you can see, 12 levels, but this allows you to basically crouch and move faster. So this is the regular crouching speed, this is Swift Sneak 1, Swift Sneak 2, and Swift Sneak 3. As you can see, it is much faster, and it's more or less the same speed as the walking speed when you have Swift Sneak 3. It is useful, but it's also a very niche enchantment. There's also 5 new unique blocks that you can find in the Deep Dark and the Ancient Cities as well. There is the Skulk Block, the Skulk Veins, the Skulk Catalyst, the Skulk Shrieker, and the Skulk Sensor. The mining tool for all of these is the Hoe, and if you enchant this with Silk Touch, then you'll be able to actually acquire these blocks in survival mode. So breaking the Skulk Block, it will actually drop a couple pieces of experience for you. The Skulk Veins don't drop anything. The Catalyst will give you a significant portion of experience, so will the Shrieker and the Sensor as well. This Skulk Block is basically just a generic Minecraft block, and the Skulk Veins are basically just a generic vine block that can be placed on any side or underneath of any block. The Skulk Catalyst is one of the main blocks, and this is what makes all of the other things spread and makes Skulk in general renewable. So how this block works is any mob that dies around it that would typically drop experience, that experience is instead converted into Skulk blocks. As you can see, it generated a Skulk Vein on top of there. Now, depending on how much experience the mob drops, a larger or smaller amount of Skulk will be generated around it. So as you can see, we only get a couple of Skulk blocks from that chicken, but a Piglin Brute that generates a lot more experience will spread a significant more amount of Skulk in the area. And of course, all of these blocks can be mined for experience, so the experience isn't deleted, it's instead transferred into block form, which is interesting. The Skulk Catalyst has a very small chance of generating more Skulk Shriekers and Skulk Sensors, so that is how we can get these renewably. The Skulk Sensor only has one job in life, and that is to summon the Warden and basically ruin your day. So whenever you step on this, even if you are crouched, that is going to scream. And then if you get a couple of screams from a naturally generated Skulk Shrieker, then you are going to have a Warden summoned. If you place down a Shrieker, or if it generates from a Catalyst, it will not be able to summon a Warden. The Skulk sensor is the most interesting of all the blocks, and this is the one that comes with 1,001 different uses for redstone. This detects all kinds of sound vibrations in the game, such as from dropping items that will activate it, or simply walking around, flying, falling, changing your armor, eating, drinking, basically anything that happens around this. If it makes a noise, it can detect that and send out a redstone signal. Depending on how close the signal is to the Skulk sensor, it will send out a stronger or a weaker redstone signal. As you can see, that was like a signal strength of 5 or 6 or 7, and then if we get right on top of this thing, that's going to send out a much stronger pulse. The Skulk sensors can also activate the shriekers as well, so it's not just stepping on top of those that is the issue. If you accidentally activate a sensor, that can activate the shrieker, and then you get a warden. The vibrations of a Skulk sensor can be dampened using wool, so if you put wool all the way around this, it's not going to detect anything except from below or above. So as you can see, I am free to walk around in all of these areas. It will also stop it from sending vibrations in certain directions. So as you see, even if we activate this one, it's not going to activate that shrieker because that piece of wool is there. Wool also has a dampening effect, so you can walk, jump, or throw items on top of wool blocks, and it will not create any sound vibrations for these sensors to pick up, and that is why there is gray wool all around the ancient cities for you to walk on. Carpets also have the same dampening effect as well, so you can use that to your advantage. However, carpets do not block the sound vibrations from activating the sensor or other shriekers in the area. As you can see, if we're walking around on regular blocks, that can still activate the sensor. The sensor and shrieker can both be waterlogged, and the Skulk veins will prevent water from flowing, but they can also be waterlogged as well. And now that you understand everything about Skulk, we can now talk about the Warden. So if you activate enough of the naturally generated shriekers, a Warden will come towards you. It takes a couple of shrieker activations, but every time you activate it, you'll hear it getting closer and closer. And if you make it angry enough by making enough noise, eventually you'll have a Warden crawl out of the ground and try to murder your face. The Warden is a blind mob, but it can sniff the air to find you or any other mobs in the area. It has 500 health, so it is stronger than the Wither. It's also immune to fire and lava as well. It can also pathfind through lava and water to attempt and reach you, and you can have multiple of these summoned at one time. The Warden has an anger meter, and it gets angered by vibrations, either from you throwing snowballs or arrows, or from these sensors sending signals to it. The faster the heart is beating, the angrier the Warden is. If you don't anger it for a while, it will simply despawn. You can distract the Warden by slowly throwing a snowball far away from you, or by shooting a bow and arrow, and the impact of the arrow will send a signal to the Warden. These guys are extremely strong. They can one-hit most every mob in the game. As you can see, they're also incredibly fast when they run towards you. The Warden also has a ranged attack called the Sonic Boom that will go through all forms of armor and deals an incredible amount of damage. They can also use it very quickly as well. So basically, these guys are a boss mob, but without the boss bar at the top of the screen. The Warden does drop one item, and that is the Skulk Catalyst. It is the only way to get more Skulk Catalyst in the game, and it's the only way that these are renewable. So yes, that does mean that you can farm the Warden, and I've already designed a Warden Farm. It's on my channel right now. The Lemme was also added in this update. It's a beautiful and cute little flying mob that is completely passive and cannot be tamed or bred. There's a limited number of these in the world, and you can only find them at certain pillager outposts that have cages outside of them, and in certain woodland mansions that have the prisons inside of them. The mansions have a significant number of allays, but of course they are very rare, and the outposts have 1 to 3 allays. Overall, the allay is going to be a very rare and hard to get mob. This mob can't be tamed in the typical way, but if you do give it an item, then it technically becomes yours and it will follow you around the world. It is also immune to damage from you. As you can see, you cannot damage it, and even if you do manage to damage it somehow, it regenerates health very quickly. So once you have given them an item, they're basically going to be very hard to kill, which is a great little feature. You can apply a lead to these guys if they are already holding an item, and if they're already holding an item, you can also name tag them item as well. These are a living mob. They are damaged by harming potions and healed by healing potions. The main functionality of the allay is that it will search the world for blocks that you have given it. So I gave it 1 piece of sand, and if I drop any sand within 32 blocks of that allay, it's going to pick it up and come throw it to me, as you can see there. So if you're out mining in the desert or off in a cave or something, it will pick up items that you tell it to, bring them to you, and drop them into your inventory. This mob is especially good for technical players because this allows us to sort non-stackable items. It has 2 inventory slots, 1 slot for the item that you give it, and another slot for any other item that it picks up. So we gave it a diamond sword, and if we throw any diamond sword on the ground, it's going to pick that up and bring it to us. And as you can see, that is all there is to it. We can use this to sort any non-stackable item in the game, including potions. However, it does not currently sort out separate types of enchantment books. All enchantment books will go into the same pile. It won't differentiate between like unbreaking and efficiency or something, but it does differentiate between different types of potions, such as healing and harming, for example. It doesn't care about the MBT data of tools, weapons, or armor, so as you can see, if we drop an enchanted diamond sword on the ground, it's still going to pick it up and bring it to us. Even if this was damaged or had a curse on it or something, it would still pick it up and bring it to us. Allays can also be tied to note blocks as well, and they will drop off their items at that note block. So if you activate it near an allay, that'll send a vibration to the allay, and now it's tied to that. So instead of bringing items to the player, it drops off the items near the note block. This mechanic also allows us to make fully automatic and non-stackable item sorters using the allay. Overall, it is truly an amazing mob and quite the unique feature to Minecraft. Thank you everyone for voting on it and getting added to the game. However, I do wish we had a way of getting them renewably or breeding them somehow, because they are way too rare for how useful they are. And that is every main feature in the 1.19 Wild update. If you think I missed something, then of course let me know in the comment section down below, and thank you ever so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then consider subscribing, that way you don't miss future 1.19 content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much, and then there was silence.